Street Art of Tel Aviv. Social commentary and dialogue through public space. This video deals with the idea that graffiti is art, and that recontextualization of public spaces through art is an essential platform for artists to voice their opinion through art as social commentary. So no matter what side of the debate you side with, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. As a native West Virginian, the serene, unspoiled beauty of Appalachia has always been the apex of my understanding of what beauty is. It has always been the inspiration for the majority of my own personal art. I never thought much of graffiti, and considered it a far lesser art form than traditional methods. However, now that I was living in the urban landscape of Tel Aviv, one of the most metropolitan cities in the whole of the Middle East, I was daily exposed to graffiti on almost every surface imaginable. There was graffiti on walls, rocks, fire hydrants, fences, gates, trains, doors, sidewalks, boardwalks, and on and on and on. There was graffiti everywhere. Growing up in Marion County, West Virginia, away from the hustle and bustle of the big cities, my quiet little hometown of Monongah offered very little in the way of street art. The street art I was accustomed to was either art that was paid for or pure vandalism, and nothing more. It never reached a bigger or deeper or more meaningful level. But what I was seeing daily in Tel Aviv was something deeper and much more thought-provoking. Here I was witnessing real artists making real statements about real issues, not some kid with a spray can painting his initials on things to make himself out to be the local hooligan. I started to use my days off from work as time to walk about the different sections and neighborhoods of Tel Aviv. As with any city, some were very affluent and some were very destitute and dangerous. But I had come to realize very early on in my walkabouts that the best art could usually be found in the worst neighborhoods. In my naivete, I had always considered graffiti a big city U.S. problem, something that we rural folk, for the most part, only got a glimpse of on passing trains. But here in Tel Aviv, I was bombarded with street art. It seemed that it was more prolific here than in even New York City, the place where I'd first been exposed to the idea that graffiti could be something deeper than mere vandalism. In my walks, I started to notice that some artists' work stuck out more than others. Some graffiti begged you to stop and look at it, to try to interpret the deeper meaning behind the paint on the wall. This is how I discovered Banksy, the English street artist and political activist who prefers to remain anonymous and let his satirical paintings speak for themselves. I found several works in Tel Aviv that resembled his work, and wondered why an English graffiti artist would travel to different countries and risk arrest for vandalism. My only good answer was that Israel is an easy target. They've got bigger problems to deal with than arresting every political activist artist who wants to paint a statement on a wall. In reality, these works could have been painted by any of his numerous imposters too. They're not necessarily the works of Banksy. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I think this may have been the case in most of the paintings I found done in his style. However, discovering Banksy led me to discovering No Hope. That would be K-N-O-W for the no. No Hope is an American-born Jewish artist, real name Adam Yekutieli, living in Israel, specifically in Tel Aviv, and his painting struck a real chord with me. The paintings he was doing transcended vandalism and rose to something much, much more. His work commands you to stop and think about what he's saying. And in the end, isn't that what great art is supposed to do? It's supposed to make us think, right? Even if it's something painted on a wall. I remember when I was an undergrad at Fairmont State University in Fairmont, West Virginia. I studied about the American artist Keith Haring. Keith Haring had started out as a graffiti artist too. He did the majority of his paintings in the New York City subway system, on the black display boards where posters were supposed to have been. He became so famous, or infamous, that people looked forward to finding his next drawing or painting somewhere in the city. It eventually led to him being commissioned to paint walls and buildings as legitimate public artworks, for pay rather than notoriety. Haring eventually became a gallery artist, and you can find his works in museums throughout the world. No Hope is finding the same kind of success. Like Haring before him, whose work is pictured in this image, Yekutieli's work has started to become demanded in canvas form also, so that art collectors can buy and keep his visions. Adam Yekutieli and Roz Plasma, whose work is pictured here and in the next slide, have undertaken community and long-term projects in the form of what some call social practice art. This is a type of art that deals with social ideas, and the ideas of recontextualization and dialogue through public space. Public art in public spaces, it transcends vandalism and the stigma that comes with being a vandal, rather than a respected artist. Not all graffiti is vandalism, nor is all graffiti art. But as I've come to discover, most of it has an intrinsic artistic value that cannot be denied. Whether one wants to call it art or not is up to the viewer. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so they say, and I suppose the same is true with art. If I personally owned a home or shop and someone vandalized it by spray painting on it, I'd probably be very upset. However, if the artwork was amazing or spoke to me on a deeper level, I might have no problem with it at all. In fact, if I owned a big blank wall in Tel Aviv, or in any other metropolis for that matter, I'd probably just hire a graffiti artist to paint over the space and be done with it, or do it myself. Besides, I'd be the owner of an original public work. And public work or not, graffiti or not, it'd be mine. And I could debate with my friends, when they came around to visit, that age-old question: what is art?